Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to What Women Want with Judy Goss and Kristen West, only on LA Talk Radio.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to What Women Want Talk Radio. Thank you for joining us for our show tonight, Giving Animals a Voice. I'm broadcasting from New York, and my co-host, Kristen West, is sitting in our beautiful studio at LA Talk Radio with a view of the palm trees.
Hey, Judy, how are you? It's a lovely day here.
Oh, I'm in cloudy New York, but that's all right. I'll be there soon. You know, What Women Want has reached over 1 million downloads, I'm proud to say, since we first hit the airwaves 4 years ago. And between latalkradio.com's archives, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, and all over social media, you can find us everywhere. So listen to those replays and subscribe to us on YouTube. And we're taking sponsors also for our show for the next few months. So email us. Actually, it'll be probably the next 2 to 3 months. So get in there if you want to sponsor. Email for a complete deck through our website, whatwomenwantradio.com. Design and Print Resource is our sponsor again this week. So thank you, Gloria Strayer. Everyone does buy printing in some form at some point. So the company you can trust for great service is Design and Print Resource. Gloria Strayer is the founder and owner, and she's Design and Print Resources in Anaheim, California, and she's been in the print industry for 40 years. Her services also include warehousing and distribution. Give them a call at 714-687-9200 or go to dnpresource.com. Now, we've been speaking the past couple of weeks about anxiety and depression, and I came across a really disturbing photo on Instagram on Allison Spellman's account about a dog meat festival. I didn't even know these things were still happening. I'm a little bit ignorant to this fact, and it spurred my idea for the show because, you know, those of you who have pets, you know they have feelings, and they so deserve to be spoken for. So when I heard about the model and award-winning producer Katie Cleary and what she's doing for our animals, I heard she was even at the White House this week. I decided to have her come to our show at the White House, the Capitol. I decided to have her come to our show, and she might have been at the White House, I don't know. And someone else who I highly respect and admire, who I just mentioned, she's a huge advocate for animals, Jewelry TV host Allison Spellman. Now, these ladies are incredibly gorgeous and have very glamorous careers, and so it's even more impressive to me that they really roll up their sleeves and get to work and so hard for something like animals' rights, right, Kristen?
There's a lot of problems in the way that we treat animals, in the way that we think about animals, and I'm always inspired to hear from animal rights activists like Allison and Katie, and I'm so excited to hear what they're going to have to say and update us on tonight, because it is an important issue. It has a ripple effect in our whole lives, whether we acknowledge it or not.
It certainly does. And the whole dichotomy of them, like I said, being so beautiful and wanting to really get in and dig into this deeper and, you know, create a voice for those who can't be heard, and those cute little faces. And we're going to talk to them in just a few minutes. My background comes from also the high fashion modeling world. I was with Ford New York, and after that I became a magazine editor, which led me to hosting and reporting regularly for Better TV, City Buzz, and all the TV networks across the country, both regional and national. I'm a regular contributor on NBC and Fox, and I'm currently hosting the show Behind the Gates, airing on AWE this summer. We've been coming to New York City for jaw-dropping residences. It's been so fun. It's amazing. I also founded the company What Women Want Networking, so I'm an entrepreneur. This was 7 years ago, almost 8 years now. And we're hosting our second National Women's Conference in October, the 19th through the 21st at the Hyatt Regency in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm also a St. Martin's Press author and a mom of teenage twin girls, which makes for an interesting household. So back to the conference. If you want to meet me in person or my co-host, Kristen, or maybe you want to rub shoulders with Amy Newmark, the CEO of Chicken Soup for the Soul, who is our opening keynote for the conference, join us in Atlanta in October, whatwomenwantconf.com. Last year was our first conference, and women from 13 states and Canada attended, along with speakers from all over the country, including David Baer, the newest motivational mindset sensation. And Cecilia Link is our closing keynote. She's the CEO of Value Setters, which has 200,000 angel investors in their network. Women for One's Kelly McNellis is hosting a stop on her Truth Teller Tour at the conference. Catherine Marshall from Simple Fat Burn and Deborah Daniel from Charter Accounting will be there speaking, and celebrities, VIPs, surprise guests, and the kind of crowd that you will want to be a part of and network with. So whatwomenwantconf.com. Grab your pass now because we're going to sell out this year. It's going to be amazing. And Kristen, before you come to the conference in October, you sound like your schedule is wall-to-wall with all kinds of good stuff happening.
I'm so excited. I'm actually going to be in August, late August, at the Action on Film Film Festival with our episode of Horror Talk with Kristen West with Tony Moran. That's going to screen at Action on Film. My screenplay, Likeness, which I co-wrote with Ariana Wolf, is also competing at Action on Film this year, which is very exciting. So I'm going to have a big summer in Las Vegas. I'm already getting ready for it. And The Lich, the horror comedy directed by James Balsamo, is now out on VOD, and you can also buy it at acidbathproductions.com. And we're getting ready for that second season of Horror Talk, which I'm like a little pressure cooker. I have so many fun and interesting things that I cannot wait to tell you all, but I can't quite tell you all yet. So we're going to have a big second season opening for sure. You don't want to miss that.
We're full of mystery tonight, and What Women Want Radio, too, is heading towards TV, and that's very exciting also. Again, it's the pressure cooker thing. That's all good news all the way around. Your horror talk shows, though, are just fascinating to me. I love them. I really enjoy them, and I'm just so proud of you that you're just award-winning producer, a screenwriter, actor. I mean, it's crazy. You're so talented, and it's just so fun to be co-hosting with you.
Well, Judy, you teach me something each and every week that I'm on the show, and I wouldn't be where I am today without a mentor like you, and talking also with the guests and being inspired by the guests that we have on week after week, like Katie and Allison and Amy Newmark. Women really have to trailblaze for other women, and I wouldn't have all of this in my life if it weren't for your influence as well.
Well, thank you, and that's well said. And, women also have to trailblaze for people and animals that can't speak for themselves, right? When I saw some of these pictures of what's going on in the world, and Katie Cleary's website and her award-winning documentary, I I had tears in my eyes, and I really want to find out the real story about what's going on, the latest. She is an international model, award-winning producer, and an animal welfare advocate who spends her time helping animals across the globe. She's the founder of Peace for Animals. Peace, the number 4 Animals, a nonprofit dedicated to protecting wildlife and companion animals, and the creator of World Animal News, bringing the latest breaking news to readers worldwide. Welcome to the show, Katie.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, it's a pleasure to have you on. Beauty and brains, I love it. And talent. Tell me your story. There, I have, and I know Kristen has too. We probably have 2 pages of questions to ask you guys, and there's so many ways to go with this. But I'd like to hear first your story. How you first got involved in animal welfare, and what I guess how you morphed into a documentary. I know it's hard to just kind of say in a few minutes, but just some of the highlights.
Yeah, of course. So I got involved in entertainment when I was very young, around 11, 12 years old, and I started modeling. Actually was with Elite's children's division, and then eventually went on to Ford Models, and then actually came to LA, and I booked a couple different shows. I booked America's Next Top Model was the first show that I was on, and then Deal or No Deal, and kind of went on from there to work in TV and film, and also a lot of hosting as well. So, but that was. It was a little bit of a passion of mine, but really my number one passion was always animal welfare. And so how to use entertainment as a platform to raise awareness for something greater than yourself, which would be, to help animals around the globe. And
so you always had a passion for this, or was there a pivotal moment that you remember thinking, oh my gosh, I have to help especially the domestic animals?
Well, I was a child. Yeah, I grew up in Chicago, so I rescued everything from baby squirrels, bottle fed them. They would fall out of trees, or birds, or you name it. I mean, raccoons, kittens. We would bottle feed them and find them homes. And my mom was a big animal lover, and so was my father. So, I come from a family that just is very passionate about this as well. But I kind of took it a step further, and I really wanted to become a veterinarian or zoologist. And then I thought, well, I'm involved in entertainment. Maybe I can use the modeling and acting as a platform to gain more momentum, to raise awareness, and be a large voice in this field. So, eventually I, created World Animal News and Peace for Animals around 2012. And then, that was actually World Animal News was a radio show, like a podcast that was filmed. And so...
Oh, look at that, Kristen. She started as a radio show, too.
There we go.
Yeah. And it took off, and then I thought, okay, well, who's going to really listen to a bunch of people talking about animals for an hour? Because it was just animals. I thought, okay, let's take this to the next level and have it more of like a BBC format, so news format, and that really took off. And we reach about our impressions are about 1.5 million to 3 million people a week, which is great on all platforms. So it's my goal is to really have this as a show on BBC or CNN one day, the first animal news show of its kind. So that's really what I'm striving to do. But
well, that's what you made your website look like. Yeah. Also, it really is a great news. The photos, the articles, it's captivating, really.
Thank you. Yeah, that was definitely the goal. So, and then we just have to kind of, keep pushing, keep getting more people on board to take this to the next level. So that's really my goal with, World Animal News and, of course, the charity Peace for Animals. I founded based on, saving endangered species, and specifically big cats in the beginning for tiger conservation. And our first partner was actually Born Free.
Oh, wow.
So the tiger conservation project with them when we first started, and now we're off to elephants and rhinos, and we just got back from Africa recently filming our second documentary.
I have to ask you, because I mean you've seen some heartbreaking things, I'm sure. How do you keep going in the face of so much cruelty? I mean, I'm sure that taxes you and takes a toll on you as well, being witness to all of this.
Yeah, it's really heartbreaking. You have no idea. In the beginning, I really thought, okay, there's no way. How am I going to look at these images every day and then be able to report on them? And but I thought if you turn a blind eye, it's just making it worse. You're just pretending that it's not there, and it's still going to happen. It's you're not going to prevent it from happening just because you're looking the other way. So I thought, okay, the best thing we can do is to really create this platform that would. Because you don't see it on news every day. You don't see it on mainstream media. So I thought, okay, this is a way where everyone can go every morning and find out what is breaking, what they can do to help, and give them a call to action. And so that's really what our focus is. How do we give people a call to action who want to not just sit there and sign petitions.
Right.
They actually want to get involved. They might want to come to a protest, go to the Capitol, lobby, start their own organization, start rescuing animals on their own. I mean, there's a million things people can do to help. And I think that the biggest thing is how do they get started? And that's one question I get asked constantly.
Well, getting started is a pivotal step in really what you're doing to bring awareness. And, of course, you network when you meet people who care about the same things you do. And I want to bring on a friend of yours, Allison Spellman. She's a TV personality and a jewelry television host. She's a lifelong animal lover. And Allison is dedicated to the welfare of all animals and giving a voice to the voiceless. As an animal advocate, she is involved in many animal-related causes, both here in the U.S. as well as internationally. Welcome to the show, Allison.
Thank you, ladies, so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on, Allison, especially you and Katie know each other. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, it's so funny because, just to share my background, because we actually have a mutual connection, and that's how we first met. But, just to give me a little background, and this will tie in, of course, I've always been a huge animal lover. And just like Katie, I can remember from practically birth, I had a natural-born admiration, respect, and unconditional love, and always rescuing animals, saving animals, bringing them home. My parents were like, oh, my goodness, how many animals can we fit in this house? And that was me. But I never, I always had that theme throughout my life. But I was always, for whatever reason, just fearful. And I think it is because of what you just asked, really getting into the trenches and seeing the, things that absolutely make me question humanity when you get down into the trenches about truly animal welfare. And so it was just always on my heart. And I will never forget this. It was 2001, and I was sitting in a hair salon, and I was flipping through a magazine, and I remember seeing this gorgeous picture of actress Shannon Elizabeth, and she was surrounded by dogs. Mm-hmm. And to this moment, it was like, that was that moment that I remember thinking, reading this article, because she started a cat and dog rescue organization called Animal Avengers. And I remember thinking in that moment, wow, that's what I want to do. And if I ever had that platform to raise awareness and help animals, that is what I'm going to do. And I followed her throughout the years. And then through divine orchestration, I became friends with her cousin who introduced me to Shannon. So flash forward 15 years, and I always say not to ages or anything, but here I was sitting across from Shannon in a cafe in New York and hearing firsthand about her crucial work in Africa to help save endangered animals and everything that she did, that I was truly blown away. And she became my mentor when it comes to animal advocacy. And in that moment, and through that friendship, that was it. I knew I could never sit on the sidelines any longer. Or, there's a great quote that says, I always wondered why somebody doesn't do something about that. Mm-hmm. Then I realized I was somebody. And that was it. I knew I had to save our animals from extinction, suffering, and abuse. And from that moment forward, TV is what I love to do, but just like what Katie said, this I feel is my calling. This is what I feel why I was put on this earth to do. And, just to recap as well, I think the hardest part about our work is absolutely, and Judy, I know you hashtag this, the truth hurts, and the truth does hurt. Yeah. And let me tell you, there are many nights I have bawled many times seeing these images and learning the truth. But that one thing that always keeps me focused, no matter how hard it may be, is remembering that my looking away does not change the situation. And my turning away, it may break my heart to see these images or really learn the truth and make me highly uncomfortable. But is that helping those that need it the most or make it stop from happening again?
Well, it's funny you said that because I felt like that's what was talking to me when you posted that picture about the dog meat festival. I mean, I just looked at it and went, oh. And I was a little nervous, to be honest with you, bringing this kind of topic on the show tonight because it is such a sensitive subject. And when I looked into it a little more, and I'm sure, Kristen, you found the same thing happened, when I watched the documentary that Katie did and I watched the posts, Allison, that, that you write about, I just almost couldn't stomach it. And I don't get really affected that easily. I don't get turned off that I'm not that sensitive. I didn't think I was anyway until I saw all of this, and then I went on World Animal News and it just was falling over. So there is an awareness that does need to be brought out, and it's crucial to what you all are doing, and it's just so admirable because it's not something you hear about every day, and then that's when I got really curious about it, and I just thought, whatever comes up on the show is going to come up, and people have to hear it, and that's the truth.
What I'm interested in, Judy, exactly. I'm so glad that you brought this up because once you get curious about something, you see the plethora of problems that we have with our relationship with the animal world and the environment. Katie, how do you prioritize and steer the mission of your organization? Because there's so many things you could focus on at any given moment.
Yeah, there's so many issues. We've chose to focus on, really, we rescue animals. I mean, I've got 12 animals that I've rescued actually personally, and that are not mine. But I'll find them everywhere. On the freeway, at the shelter, you name it. I'll get a call and go pick up an animal. So we've done, everything from animal rescue, getting them out of the high kill shelters and finding them homes, to endangered species, focusing on anti-poaching in Africa. I think that right now, specifically for my organization, the plight of the rhino and elephant is most urgent. A lot of people focus on, we also focus on veganism and a plant-based diet, and there's only so much that you can do in one day, and to spread yourself too thin is not really the best way to focus your energies. And unfortunately, we've got so many people reaching out to us that need our help with just raising awareness through World Animal News and Peace for Animals and asking for our support. And we try to help everybody, but I think the most urgent issues are the endangered species, of course, and then the Yulin Dog Meat Festival that's happening actually right now in China. So, but there's so many issues. So it's really just, you have to pick one that you're very passionate about and kind of and go in that direction and just focus your energy. And if you can do that, you can really not only change, life for that species, but really, I think, affect the world. And that's kind of, the route that we've gone through, gone down.
Well, it's impressive because I know it's endless, and to be able to be the leader that curates the kind of stories that go on a website such as yours, or even in a documentary. I imagine that you had a hard time selecting people's stories for that too. Let's talk a little bit, Allison. I know you posted this picture about the Yulin Dog Meat Festival, which again I can't barely say without cringing. Or crying or something. And the photo, because we're on radio, we can't kind of like post the shot up. Just tell us a little bit about what's going on there, because the photo was of dogs in cages, and it didn't even really touch when you started looking into what it really was about.
I mean, and honestly, that photo I posted, that was a PG. So you can just imagine. I mean, I've seen a lot. I'm sure, I know Katie's seen a lot, but I'll tell you what, the images, the stories, the behind-the-scenes footage there of what are done to these animals, and it's all quote-unquote for tradition, and Katie can definitely expand on this as well, but what they do is they torture these dogs, and it is incredibly brutal, from electrocution, skinning alive, boiling alive, and I'm just laying it out there, to staple gunning them to walls. It is horrible. And there's different reasons they do that, because they think the trauma that the dog is going through has different properties that is going to help. It's like the same thing with the theory of the rhino horn as well, that has medicinal properties, where all it does, it's absolutely the same component as your fingernails. So there's all this quote-unquote tradition and myth out there. But it is the most barbaric torture I think I have ever seen in my life, and I have seen a lot. And the sad part of this, too, are many of those dogs and cats are stolen pets as well. So just imagine that. A lot of them that are rescued are even microchipped. So just imagine that as a whole.
And that's across the world. Okay, and it's it's unbelievable, and it's a horrible tragedy that they're being tortured, and these types of things are happening on the other side of the world. Now, on the flip side, we still have puppy mills. I know. I can't even believe that. Right. Katie, you had someone on your Give Me Shelter documentary that was speaking about this. Can you just give us a little bit of insight into what we're missing there, why this is still happening, and what is actually happening still in the U.S.? I mean, we're talking about China, it's not excusable, but it's so far away. But this is happening in our backyard, correct?
Yeah, it is, and it's very hidden. Sadly, I mean, I believe that, there is a dog meat trade happening. It's legal in 44 states to eat dogs and cats, and there's some legislation that actually Mark Swindler was working on to make it illegal, on a national level. And so I have to see how far they've gotten. So I really hope that does pass, because I don't think people realize that dog and cat meat, or actually eating your pets, is legal in 44 states. I really haven't. I was shocked to even learn about it when Mark brought that up. So originally we started to work on the bill with him, and then we focused on some other legislation, the Cruelty-Free Cosmetics Act and the Iconic African Species Protection Act, which just passed the committee actually yesterday. The one was the judicial.
Can you repeat that? What was it that? Hold on, I'm sorry. I just want to slow you down a second. What was that you said that passed?
So the Iconic African Species Protection Act and the Cruelty-Free Cosmetics Act actually passed the next round of the committee actually yesterday at the California State Capitol. So we were there filming, and we were actually doing a second documentary as well, the follow-up to Give Me Shelter. And it was an incredible win. We were getting fought by all the big companies, Estee Lauder, Revlon, L'Oreal for the cruelty-free cosmetics, and then, of course, the Safari Club International and the NRA for the Iconic African Species. So, as far as legislation is concerned, this is a game changer for not only California, but for the entire United States if these bills pass and get the governor's signature.
I'm glad you brought up laws because I think what people forget, what people forget is, besides the imagery and the cruelty itself, which is horrible, that there is a significant criminal underworld behind some of the most atrocious acts of poaching. And excuse me. Specifically, I was looking at the horse meat trade in Europe, which has been thriving for 400 years. The mob has infiltrated the horse meat trade in Europe. I'm sure you ladies have seen or experienced or heard of significant dangers when you go up against criminal elements in your field to do what's right. Allison, do you have any personal experience or any stories you can tell us about that?
I don't have any personal experience, but I know my friend Shannon, who, of course, Katie knows as well. I mean, when you're up against, she's in the trenches working with anti-poaching units, things like that. And I'll just never forget, because we did an event in Connecticut together. And, I have to agree. She was just like, you know what? I have to do this. And if it is my life, then it is my life, because there's something at stake here, and it is so much bigger than just me, because we are talking about an entire species literally being marked off this planet. And what that does, because you gotta remember too, every time an animal is taken away, it is taking out the link of our ecosystem that literally affects our planet forever. So that's one front. I know personally, though, of course, you have dog fighting rings. You have, a whole other thing is exotic animal trade as well. That's a really horrible thing. You just have to, you risk it all. You really, really risk it all. And like I said, I personally haven't had any experience with that, but I have to say, if I was on the lines, I would go for it. I would.
Katie, do you have any experience with this?
With the legislator. Yesterday we went live on World Animal News, and the NRA got up there in the Safari Club International.
Katie, your reception's a little bit muffled.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better.
Hello?
Yep, that's better.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, of course. So yesterday we were, at the California State Capitol and fighting for these two bills, and the Iconic African Species Protection Act will be the first of its kind in California, but it'll affect, I believe it'll affect every other state, and eventually, all the species that are going to be imported into California.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can you just tell us what that is?
So basically, it's a bill that prevents the possession of 11 endangered species from Africa in California. So you can't. Sadly, you can import them because of the national bill that Trump reversed, that Obama put in, where it prevents the importation of endangered species, elephants, rhinos, into the United States. So he reversed that ban. But he's doing it on a case-by-case basis, so we can't overthrow his national ban, but we can do it on the state level and prevent the possession of these species, of these endangered species. So they can sadly be imported into California, into the United States, but we say, look, you've got 2 weeks to get these animals out of here. So there's no point in them even bringing them in. So we're preventing the possession of 11 endangered species in California. So we're talking elephants, rhinos, leopards, cheetahs, lions, some of the most endangered species on the planet. And that's sadly the only way we can do this because of the current administration that's in office. So we do it on a state-by-state level. So we're getting fought by the NRA, the Safari Club International. They had their attorneys there yesterday. They were actually speaking out against us, saying, who are these people filming? We were filming the documentary as well. And then a hunter got up there and said, he had already said a few words, the least amount that they actually you can speak, just attending the meeting. And he got up there again to try to speak and convince us that, hunting is conservation. And, the money that's brought in from trophy hunting is brought to the communities. And really, there's no evidence of that. I actually spoke to the Tanzanian government. We did an undercover investigation at Safari Club International Convention earlier this year. And it wasn't undercover after I exposed who I was, but I talked to a bunch of hunters, and it was very sad. The governments of Tanzania, South Africa, all the main governments of all these nations in Africa were there that were representing the trophy hunting divisions of these nations, and they basically said they don't know where the funding is going. They don't know where the money from Safari Club International is actually going, because they're not seeing much. And they say it goes back to the communities, but we think that mainly ecotourism has proven to bring more into the communities than hunting has ever brought. So, clearly, I think the people that run these hunting camps are getting the funding because they're the ones who are taking these hunters out. So, they don't really have an obligation to bring that back to the community. They're pocketing that money. So, and they're just convinced that, the meat from these animals and the money is the only way these communities are going to survive. And we know that that's totally false. It's ecotourism, it's green tourism, it's photo safaris. That's right. What people want to see. If these animals are wiped off the face of the planet in Africa, no one's going to want to visit.
Right.
It's a beautiful place, but, the whole point of going to Africa, if you ask anyone around the world, is to see these species that have been around for millions of years. And if rhinos are gone, if elephants are gone, it's just a matter of time.
Allison, I wanted to ask you, Katie's brought some great points up. Do you get any hate mail for believing in what you do and championing the causes that you champion? Have you ever gotten trolled or any pushback from anybody about it?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I think, one of the number one things is, does this mean that I don't value human life as much as animals? And that's absolutely.
They said that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we get that a lot. I think, animal activism is often attacked. It's just so interesting. And, what I always say is, take that passion. Like, when people are actively doing good and trying to make change and committing to their calling, what truly pulls on their hearts, that's not a time to be critical. That's a time to reflect and ask yourself, what am I passionate about? What would I fight for? Because if we all focus wholeheartedly on our individual passions like that, just think of the incredible ripple effect and what the combined efforts can do. But again, I get that question a lot. And my answers are, number one, we have seen that there's always a link between animal abuse and human abuse. They're definitely partners in crime, right, without a doubt.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up,
so Allison. That's important. And go ahead.
I'm glad you brought that up, because when you do character study for any serial killer, you look for a pattern of behavior of animal abuse first. That is FBI profiling like 101. And it when you have an animal and you have a lack of empathy towards an animal, you're going to have a lack of empathy towards other people too, eventually, in some way or some form. Katie, what about you? Do you get trolled a lot? Have you had anybody, do you get hate mail?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We just block them.
Just block them.
Yeah. That's a better
Yeah. No, I mean, to be honest, it's so ridiculous. It's like, first of all, who doesn't love animals? And if you don't love animals, you have a serious problem. I mean, I don't want to be...
Exactly.
Well, according to Kristen, you could.
Well, yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's crazy, but we do. I mean, and I do personally, and it's from hunters. It's from people that think that hunting is conservation, and I'm like, no, it's actually the complete opposite, because conservation is saving, not killing. So we actually did these billboards after I did the undercover investigation at Safari Club International. It was actually pretty funny, and they went up like a day later, and it was trophy hunters put the con in conservation, and it was an elephant, and we highlighted con, and it was at LAX and also at O'Hare in Chicago, and we want to actually do them in Texas, but they got rejected in Texas because of the tremendous amount of hunting that goes on there. So that's interesting. But we love to push the envelope because I think it's
Katie, I love those billboards. I shared them.
Thank you.
I love them.
Now,
the
Katie,
thing was 2 days ago was the Estee Lauder ad that we did.
Yeah.
I had no idea that it was going to go viral, but Estee Lauder was so ashamed that they didn't even show up at the Capitol.
My goodness.
Okay, fill us in. Katie?
Yes.
She's still fill us in on what's going on. What's going on with Estee Lauder and what happened at the Capitol?
Yeah, so this is the Cruelty-Free Cosmetics Act. So it would ban the testing of all products, cosmetic products that are tested on animals in California. But that would mean that would affect China because China supposedly requires you, in order to sell to China, to test on animals. But we talked to actually John Paul DeJorio, Paul Mitchell products, and they are cruelty-free. They've been cruelty-free since inception. And they refused to test on animals, and they negotiated with the Chinese government, and they said we will not test on animals. That's the bottom line. So you have to accept one of our tests from California, which was a human skin test, and they did. And so I don't know if all of these other companies like MAC Cosmetics and Estee Lauder know that they can negotiate with China, but we know for a fact that Paul Mitchell, John Paul DeJorio, negotiated, and he sells his products to China. So that's their, I guess that's what they're trying to push. The opposition is saying it's bad for business. We're going to lose millions of dollars. We can't sell to China. We're going to have to change our whole business model and our whole, all the products that we've already used that are tested have to, be thrown away, and they're going to lose jobs, which we know is not the case. I mean, there's about 3,000 companies that are cruelty-free currently, and they're doing just fine, making billions of dollars a year. So we know that it's just something that, change is hard. And I think that for any company, especially Estee Lauder that owns all of these big brands, they don't want to change. So what we found out from a little birdie, they hired the largest lobby firm in Sacramento to fight us. So I decided to make a really professional ad that looked like an Estee Lauder ad, and it went viral. And it just said, that Estee Lauder, basically the facts. They hired the largest lobby firm to fight the Cruelty-Free Cosmetics Act, and every celebrity animal activist has shared it, and so their lobbyist actually went in to the Capitol and was very concerned about this, and they didn't know what to do because it made them look very stupid. And the fact that the cat is now literally out of the bag. So they didn't show up. They didn't show up. No one from any cosmetic brand showed up because they don't know how to deal with this. They don't know how to fight it, especially when the public opinion is to ban animal testing across the board. No one wants cruelty-free in there. No one wants a bunny to be tortured for mascara or foundation. It's vanity, and it's ridiculous. Just like fur, Why would you want to wear a tortured animal It's just for vanity. There's no real purpose, It's just, and even if there was, I still don't believe in that. I think that, but it's just it's so rapid, and we're moving into a different era. People are concerned about what they're putting on their body and what they're putting on their face. And, they want natural. They want cruelty-free. They don't want animals to be tortured for this. And this is the way it needs to go. So it passed. It passed the next round. So,
wow.
There's many more rounds to go, but we're pretty confident that these two bills will make it.
Now, it's amazing to me that you're affecting that kind of change in the California state legislature that actually has global implications with how we do business with China and other nations across the world. In your experience, Allison, we have listeners from all over the United States and Canada and worldwide. Is there any state in the United States that is particularly offensive when it comes to animal cruelty laws or lack thereof?
I know Katie could probably answer that better than myself.
Okay, so Katie,
because she's really educated.
So Katie, is there a state which really, really is shocking in the lack of concern for animals that maybe our listeners may want to?
I have to say, and I'm just going to say it like it is, and please, don't give me any hate for it, but I think, and I love Texas, don't get me wrong, and a lot of friends in Texas, but the hunting is a big issue there, and canned hunting is sadly legal there. So that means that you can purchase an animal for upwards of $10,000 to $25,000, lion, leopard, panther, whatever you choose, and then literally have it, released in a small confined area and shoot it for sport. And they make some areas of Texas look like Africa. So when you're seeing these videos, you think that they're in Africa, but they're sometimes in Texas.
Right.
I was sitting, and it reminds me of Jurassic World. There was such a message there. Have any of you seen that movie? I have two 13-year-old kids, so I have to go to these things at the night they come out. And I was, what's that?
I would love to see. I actually want to see it tonight.
Just what you're talking about, it plays very well into what you're talking about. I was, and I had already, booked this show and picked the topic, and then I went to go see this movie, and I thought, good Lord, it was the same thing that you're talking about, when they capture these animals, and obviously in that case it was dinosaurs, but they were in cages, and they were being auctioned off, for millions of dollars, and they could just, buy them and do whatever they wanted with these animals. And it was hard to watch. And it's hard to believe that it's actually happening here in the United States.
Yes, it is. It is. It's all about the money.
Yep. And I think it's a sport. That's the sad thing is, since when is a sport about killing? If that was human, forget it. It would be illegal. But because they can't speak, it's incredibly sad. It's incredibly sad. I believe that there's going to be a day where we're going to look back at this and be like, I cannot believe we did this to our Earth species. I can't believe that was legal to keep Africa in captivity in something the size of a bathtub. I can't believe zoos were legal to keep a lion, behind bars. I think it's just, we have to evolve because we're destroying this planet, and I refuse to let it happen. So we need to take urgent action before these animals go extinct. I won't let it happen.
Now, Katie, what's your favorite part of being an activist in all of this? You're a movie producer, you're a speaker, you're a TV host, you curate articles for your World Animal News, and I'm sure you're an editor there as well. Where's the fun in all of this? What's the most fun for you?
Oh, geez, the fun. There's a lot of stress, to be honest, but the fun comes from, I think, just seeing the change that you can make and seeing the lives that you saved. Whether it's from afar, whether we're here and it's in Africa, whether it's, saving a rhino baby from, being poached, whether it's, saving a kitten on the side of the road. And it's a big change too, like the legislation. Those are huge victories. And like you said, it's not going to just affect, that's why they're so concerned, and that's why they've hired the biggest lobby firms and the biggest attorneys to fight us on these, because they're so concerned that once this goes in California, because we're the 5th largest economy, it's going to go nationwide. So that's the issue we're dealing with, is that, it seems like it's, we're starting small, but it's really going to affect the globe. So I think that's that. It's just, you almost do it in your backyard. Everything you do, I believe, begins in your own backyard, and then it just kind of takes on a life of its own. And it's so rewarding to see those lives saved, and to potentially see a species saved from extinction.
And as I want you to tell us a little bit about the work you do with the Animal Avengers.
Yes,
we're running a little bit towards the end of the show, and I just want to get that
already.
Yeah, can you believe it?
Already. I know it's hard to believe, but
I know it's hard to get everything in.
Yeah, I mean, just really fast too. If I can just add too, I mean,
please.
Part of the joy of my work is truly creating awareness, because there are so many people out there that just don't know the backstory. They just don't know the backstory of, when you take that elephant ride, when you buy a ticket, of course, for an animal show, what is the backstory there? And the backstory is that animal was ripped from captivity, has experienced cruelty, all for your joy, right? And a lot of people don't know that, or the backstory of the dairy industry, anything like that. And I find complete joy in being able to share that, as hard as it is, but to see it register with them and know, you know what, moving forward, I'm not going to buy a ticket. I'm not going to support that. And that was what I feel my work really, truly is just helping to educate people. Because you know what, about 10 years ago, I was that person, and I didn't know, and I loved animals, but I needed to know what that truly meant. And even something too, like...
And Animal Avengers?
Animal Avengers.
Go ahead.
Is works with in South Africa, helping to save endangered rhinos and elephants from extinction, working with anti-poaching units, helping to create education, really building the community as well. And that, of course, is headed by Shannon Elizabeth.
And you've been working with her as an ambassador for this foundation, isn't that right?
Yes, and I'm also on the U.S. Board of Directors.
It's amazing what you ladies have accomplished and, how you're fighting for these adorable little faces. I see your passion and everything that you're doing to really, change the world and change the world in the eyes of someone who can't speak up for themselves. And it tears me up in a way to know that there are people like you out there. It's just so admirable. So congratulations, Katie, on everything you're doing. I'm flabbergasted, honestly, at your talents and your beauty and everything that it's obviously comes from the inside out. Everything that you're doing, the beauty there.
Thank you.
And absolutely, I'm just
Thank you, women, as well. You're so inspirational as well for everything that you're doing and bringing women together, and strong women together, because I think that that's the world that we need in the future.
Well, it's people like you that are empowering us to do that, to be honest with you. So I appreciate that. And Allison, everything you're doing, I see your posts, and, you're working full-time as a jewelry TV host, which I know is not easy. Long hours. You have to always look good. You have to always be talking and selling and everything else. And then you're going out on your off time and fighting for, the animals. And it is really admirable, your part in this too.
Thank you so much. It's really an honor for me to be able to do that.
Oh my gosh, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Kristen, this was a great show.
There's part of me that's teary, but there's part of me that's joyful that we had this conversation, because until you know and until you hear what lengths people go to really do what's right, you don't know your own personal power to do what's right. And I'm so happy, Katie and Allison, that you really bore witness to that today, and just showing us that even though the right thing may be hard, or you may have pushback against it, that the right thing is ultimately the joyful path for a person to take.
Right, that the passion always shines through. Now, Katie, I'd like to start with you. We have about 2 minutes left. I want to know where you would like people to go to your World Animal News website or your website, personal website. How can they find out more about what you're doing and contact you or donate? Please, tell us.
Yeah, please follow World Animal News. It's at World Animal News on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And then please also follow Peace, the number 4 Animals. Same thing on all social media. And we do breaking news from around the world every day on worldanimalnews.com. So you can check that out. And also, if you would like to see Give Me Shelter, it came out actually on Netflix in 2014, but you can now see it on the website, give-me-shelter.com, and we're working on the second one. So it's called We Are One. So we just got back from Africa, and we're incorporating on the groundwork and also the legislative process of how you pass bills to affect change in Africa and other countries.
And I can't wait to see on the breaking news on World Animal News the positive notes and the strides that you've made in changing the laws and really making the world a better place. So I'm excited for that. Congratulations to you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And Allison, where can people get a hold of you? How can we see JTV and where can we get a hold of you?
Yeah, well, you can watch JTV pretty much no matter where you live because it is obviously a national show. You can follow me on Instagram at Allison Spellman, it's ALLYSON. And it's funny because you'll see me sharing a lot of world animal news, actually. So, so you'll see that there as well. But you can follow me there. You can also follow me on Facebook at Allison Spellman.
I love it. You're amazing. You guys are both amazing. Thank you so much again. Everyone have a happy July 4th. And remember, keep subscribing to us, watching us. Thank you for listening. We appreciate every single one of you. For more information, go to whatwomenwantradio.com and have a good night.
You're listening to What Women Want with Judy Goss and Kristen West, only on LA Talk Radio.